There is a night she will never talk about. Not to her friends. Not to her family. Not even to herself. It's the night she opens your old chat. Scrolls through messages she swore meant nothing, and her chest tightens in a way she did not expect. Her finger hovers over the keyboard. Hey. She types it. Stares at it. Deletes it. Because something terrifying has happened. For the first time since she left. Since she pulled away. Since she told herself she was done, you are no longer the one orbiting her. You're not watching every story. You're not liking every post. You're not sending long emotional paragraphs trying to fix what she broke. You've gone quiet. Not the fake, I'll ignore her so she comes back quiet. The dangerous kind. The kind of silence that comes from a man who finally decided, I'm done trying to prove my worth to someone who couldn't see it. And that's where the shift begins. Most men think she'll beg to come back when she misses you. But missing you is not what scares her. What scares her is this: she no longer knows where she stands with you. She no longer feels in control. She no longer feels sure that you're still hers. When a man stops chasing, her ego loses oxygen. When he stops explaining, her certainty starts to crack. When he stops reacting, her curiosity wakes up. When he starts rebuilding himself, her fear of losing him for real begins. In this video, we're not talking about games, manipulation, or pretending not to care. We're going into the secret psychology no one teaches men. Why her mind starts chasing you long before her body does. The exact moment the power dynamic flips. The real reason she imagines you with someone else and panics. And why a woman will only beg to come back to a man who has already chosen himself. By the time we're done, you won't just understand her behavior. You'll understand why the most powerful thing you can do after she leaves is to become the man she never believed you'd have the strength to become. Let's begin. There is a moment in every man's journey of detachment that almost feels anticlimactic to him, yet becomes earthquake-level disruption inside her mind. It's the moment you stop doing what she expected you to always do. Not loudly. Not dramatically, not out of anger or revenge, but quietly, calmly, decisively. And that's the moment everything inside her begins to shift, long before she ever admits it. Long before she ever reaches out. And long before any visible behavior changes. Men often misinterpret this phase. They think nothing is happening. They think she doesn't care. They think she isn't affected. But that is only because they don't understand what collapses inside her the moment you stop chasing. Before she lived in emotional certainty, when a woman feels she has emotional control, her brain settles into a predictable rhythm. Whether she liked you, disliked you, or felt mixed about you, she knew how you would respond. You were the man who replied, quickly explained yourself to ease tension, apologized to smooth things over, reassured her when she pulled away, showed emotional availability even when she didn't. These actions weren't just behaviors, they were patterns. And patterns bring psychological safety to her brain. You weren't just a person. You were a predictable emotional anchor. Even if she rolled her eyes at you, felt annoyed by you, or took you for granted, you provided something she deeply relied on: certainty. Women don't crave certainty in men because they're manipulative. They crave it because the female brain is wired to reduce emotional unpredictability. And you unknowingly gave her that. Her brain didn't miss you during those times. It missed the control. After you stop chasing, her mental script breaks. A man thinks silence is simply silence. To him, a day or two of peace feels logical, reasonable, or even necessary for recovery. But to her, silence is disruption. Silence is deviation. Silence is instability. Not because she's fragile, but because the pattern her brain depended on suddenly disappears. Her subconscious mind shocks itself awake. Why isn't he reacting? Why isn't he trying? Why is he calm? What changed? This isn't longing. This isn't regret. This isn't missing you romantically. This is something far more primitive. Her brain is losing the emotional map it built around you. Humans fear losing familiarity more than losing love. And she is no different. You didn't just stop messaging, you removed the foundation her expectations stood on. This creates dissonance, a psychological tension that demands resolution. She cannot simply sit still with that. Her mind starts pulling at loose strings, trying to make sense of the new version of you. This is where the inner chase begins. The unsettling confusion no woman escapes. Her pride won't let her admit anything is wrong. Her ego tells her she's fine. Her friends reassure her she made the right call. But her mind is telling a very different story. She feels an uncomfortable shift, and she doesn't yet have language for it. Why? Because she expected predictable weakness from you, chasing, apologizing, explaining emotional over-availability, when instead she is met with silence, stability, calm, detachment, emotional distance, self-focus. Nervous system doesn't know what to do with that. This version of you does not match the version she stored in memory. And the human mind hates inconsistency. So what does it do? It starts thinking about you. A lot. Not because you're pulling her in, but because she can't resolve the contradiction between who you were and who you're becoming. Her internal dialogue becomes louder. Did I misjudge him? Was I wrong about him needing me? Why is he suddenly okay without me? Who is he now? These questions aren't emotional, they're neurological. Her brain is trying to re-establish equilibrium, but it can't, because you're no longer predictable. And nothing pulls a woman's attention like unpredictability, grounded in strength. Your detachment forces her into self-reflection. Every time she picks up her phone and doesn't see a message from you, a small crack forms in her certainty. Every time she posts something, expecting your reaction and sees nothing, another crack. Every time she checks your profile and sees you living, moving, growing, another crack. And cracks eventually become pressure. This pressure isn't heartbreak. It's the collapse of her prior emotional dominance. She once felt she could read you. Now she can't. She once felt she could predict you. Now she can't. She once felt secure in her importance. Now she feels unsure. This loss of control creates the first spark of attraction, again, not because you're chasing her, but because you've become a man she no longer owns. You become someone she needs to understand. Someone she underestimated. Someone she must now re-evaluate. The real reason her mind starts running. A woman does not start thinking about you because you're gone. She starts thinking about you because you're no longer behaving like the man she mentally framed you to be. That disruption activates curiosity, confusion, fascination, insecurity, attraction, regret, fear, admiration, all mixed chaotically together. She may not text. She may not call. She may not show any visible sign. But inside her mind, she's running after clarity, running after understanding, running after the emotional certainty she once had, running after the version of you she can no longer predict. And the punchline of Chapter 1 remains the truth that drives everything else. Her brain doesn't miss you first. It misses the control. And once that control disappears, the chase, the real, psychological chase begins. A woman does not chase with her hands first. She does not chase with her words first. She doesn't even chase with her actions first. She chases with her mind. Long before she ever hits send. Long before she ever likes your post. Long before she ever accidentally views your story. The real pursuit is already happening inside her head. Most men miss this phase because nothing looks different on the outside. She's silent. She's distant. She acts unbothered. But inside, her mind is racing. Her ego stays quiet, pretending she's in control, but her subconscious is already moving toward you, step by step, thought by thought. Let's break down this internal pursuit, the one that begins long before her pride allows her to make the first move. 1. Confusion, comparison, curiosity. The inner chase always begins with confusion. Your silence created the first crack. Now her brain must investigate it. She asks herself questions she never imagined she'd ask. Why isn't he trying anymore? Has he moved on already? Did I overestimate my importance? Why does his silence bother me like this? This confusion is not weakness. It's a psychological trigger, the mind seeking equilibrium. When confusion grows strong enough, it evolves into comparison. She starts comparing you before versus you now. You versus the men she's talking to. Her expectations versus your reality. The version of you she left versus the version she senses now. This comparison always leads to the same conclusion. You've changed, and change is magnetic. Because now, curiosity takes over the most powerful feminine motivator. She becomes hungry to understand you, hungry to decode you, hungry to know what caused the shift. Curiosity is the beginning of the chase. Once it activates, it doesn't turn off easily. 2. What the inner chase actually looks like. She won't message. She won't call. She won't admit she's thinking about you. But her behavior, the one she thinks you can't see, is already showing the truth. Here's what really happens behind the scenes. She checks your story but exits fast, pretending she didn't. She wants to see what you're doing, but she also wants to convince herself she doesn't care. She visits your profile more than once, sometimes in the morning, sometimes late at night when the world is silent and her mind gets loud. She zooms into your photos. Yes, women do this. They analyze your expression, your environment, your energy. She checks who liked your posts. Not because she's jealous yet, but because she's trying to gauge your emotional availability. She asks mutual friends subtle, vague questions. Not how is he, but have you seen him around? Is he working on anything new? Did he say anything about me? She frames it casually, but her mind is digging for clues. She replays past conversations, not the arguments, the moments where you were calm, grounded, emotionally masculine. She creates imaginary conversations in her head. What she would say, what she should say, what she wishes she said before things shifted. These imagined scenarios are how her mind warms up to the idea of reconnecting. Before her fingers ever type a message, her mind has already written hundreds. 3. What her ego won't admit, but her mind knows. Her ego tells her, don't reach out first. He should chase me. I'm fine. But her inner world is telling a different story. Your silence feels louder than her excuses. Your unpredictability is becoming addictive. Your new energy is harder to ignore. Your absence is pulling stronger than your past presence. This contradiction creates internal pressure, the fuel of the inner chase. Her ego may still be sitting still, but her mind is already running after you. 4. Her mind starts filling in the blanks. When a woman doesn't have information, her brain creates it. And nothing accelerates the inner chase like ambiguity. Silence is a blank canvas, and she paints it with her fears, fantasies, and memories. She asks herself, is he talking to someone new? He looks different. Did he level up? He seems happier. Was I holding him back? What if another woman gets the version of him I never got? These thoughts are painful, but they are magnetic. The more she imagines losing you to someone else, the stronger her emotional pull becomes. Women do not chase men they understand. Women chase the men who become mysteries. And right now, you're becoming one. 5. The punchline of the inner chase. She isn't checking your profile because she's bored. She isn't replaying the past because she misses nostalgia. She isn't silent because she's done. She's silent because her mind is speaking louder than her pride. And, the deeper truth, her ego doesn't move first. Her mind does. Her heart, her words, her actions, all of that comes later. The inner chase is the beginning of everything that happens next. There is a specific moment, quiet, unannounced, invisible from the outside, when everything flips. The chase ends. The dynamic reverses. The man she assumed would always be there no longer is. This shift doesn't happen when you block her. It doesn't happen when you post a revenge quote. It doesn't happen when you pretend to move on. It happens the moment you genuinely stop centering your life around her. This is the power shift most men never experience, because they never reach the point of emotional detachment needed to trigger it. But when a man does, the entire gravity of the connection changes. 1. When your world stops revolving around her. At the beginning, she felt safe. Too safe. She knew you would reply instantly. She knew you would explain yourself. She knew you would chase no matter how cold she became. She knew your emotions were accessible, predictable, controllable. You were like a light switch she flipped. You responded. But one day, slowly, quietly, you stopped reacting. Not out of anger, not out of strategy. Out of something far more powerful, you chose yourself. You stopped checking her profiles. You stopped replaying conversations. You stopped giving her emotional real estate in your mind. Your energy turned inward, not outward. And whether she sees you or not, she feels that shift instantly. Women's intuition isn't supernatural, it's psychological. They sense when the emotional thread connecting you begins to loosen. Your silence is no longer fear. It's no longer heartbreak. It's no longer waiting. Your silence becomes self-respect. And when that happens, the entire dynamic rewrites itself. 2. When emotional certainty turns into emotional scarcity, a woman cannot desire what she feels entitled to. She only desires what feels valuable, rare, and not guaranteed. Before, you were abundant. Your presence was free. Your emotional energy was unlimited and always available. Now there is scarcity. You respond slower. Your tone is calmer. You don't over-explain. You don't justify yourself. You don't reach out first. You don't seek reassurance. You have become a man with a full life, one that doesn't stop just because she leaves it. Scarcity creates demand. Demand creates attraction. Attraction creates pursuit. This is the hinge moment where the power flips. She no longer assumes you are hers. She starts wondering if she is still yours. That uncertainty is the birthplace of the power shift. 3. Your growth becomes the threat she didn't expect. You're not posting to make her jealous. You're not pretending to be happy. You're not faking confidence. You're actually rising. Your focus sharpens. Your goals come back to life. Your body, your ambition, your energy all begin to level up. She notices, even if she's gone, even if she never says it, even if she tries to ignore it. Women feel masculine growth. It's like a change in the air, pressure silent but undeniable. The version of you she took for granted, gone, replaced by a man she didn't expect you to become. This is when fear enters her chest. Not fear of losing the relationship, but fear of losing access to the man you are becoming. She didn't leave a weak man and come back to find a weak man. She left a man who loved her. And now she sees a man who loves himself. And that's far more threatening. 4. The psychological flip. She no longer reads you, she reads into you. When you chased, she could predict you. When you explained yourself, she felt safe. When you reacted emotionally, she felt superior. When you tried harder, she felt in control. Now, your silence is unpredictable. Your distance is unsettling. Your calmness is confusing. Your evolution is intimidating. She can't read your emotions anymore, so she starts reading into everything. Why didn't he reply fast? Why does he sound so calm? Why does he look happier? Is he seeing someone? Did he outgrow me? Does he even care anymore? This is the beginning of emotional imbalance, the exact imbalance she once expected you to feel. But now it's hers, and it's growing. 5. When she realizes she no longer has automatic access to you, this realization doesn't hit all at once. It drips in like water under a door. She notices small shifts first. You don't validate her instantly. You don't chase clarification. You don't respond emotionally. You don't fight for her attention. You don't make her the center of your decisions. Then comes the big realization: you no longer need her to feel whole. This is the moment everything collapses internally for her. Because women do not fear losing a man they don't want. They fear losing a man who no longer needs them, yet is still desired by others. You have become the prize, not because you acted like it, but because you became it. 6. The true power shift. She left thinking you would break, but you built. She expected you to fall apart, but you rose. She believed she knew your limits, but you shattered them. Now she is faced with a man who doesn't chase, doesn't cling, doesn't beg, doesn't explain, doesn't fold, doesn't wait, but stands, grows, and moves forward with dignity. This is the version of you she never prepared for. This is the version that flips the power dynamic permanently. When she feels this version of you, she no longer asks, "Does he still love me?" She asks, "Does he still choose me?" The power shift is complete when you stop being the man who fears losing her and become the man she fears losing. Every woman has a breaking point, not the dramatic kind, not the emotional explosion you see in movies. The real breaking point is microscopic, quiet, almost forgettable. But it's the moment that snaps something inside her and forces her to confront a truth she's been avoiding. You're no longer in her orbit. You're slipping away. And it always starts with something small, something she never expected to matter until it does. 1. The first tiny detail that shifts everything. It never begins with a grand gesture. It begins with a moment so subtle she almost misses it. Maybe it's the first time you don't view her story. Not because you're trying to send a message, but because you genuinely don't care anymore. Maybe it's the first time her birthday arrives and you don't show up in her inbox with the predictable, emotional happy birthday. Not coldness, just peace. Maybe it's when someone mentions your name, and instead of asking about her, you simply smile and keep talking. Nothing dramatic, nothing spiteful, just neutral. And that neutrality hits harder than anger ever could, because anger means you still care. Silence means you've moved. 2. The internal shockwave. He's not orbiting me anymore. That tiny shift starts echoing inside her mind with a message she cannot unhear. He's not orbiting me anymore. Not he's trying to punish me. He's trying to make me jealous. He's waiting for my reaction. No. What terrifies her is the realization that you're living a life that has nothing to do with her anymore. Your distance doesn't feel like a tactic, it feels like truth. Your silence doesn't feel like a strategy, it feels like evolution. This is the moment her ego stops feeling powerful and starts feeling threatened. Because as long as she believed you were still emotionally accessible, she felt safe. Now she feels replaced not by another woman, but by your own growth. 3. The psychology behind her fear. Many men think women fear rejection. They don't. Rejection stings, but it passes. What women truly fear is something much deeper. The fear of losing their position in your life. The fear of being forgotten. The fear of becoming irrelevant. The fear that you've rewritten your story and she no longer appears in the new chapters. Women can handle you being upset. They can handle you needing space. They can even handle you being angry. But what they cannot handle is the moment you stop needing them at all. This triggers a deeper question inside her, one that shakes her certainty to the core. What if I don't have a place in his life anymore? That question is the emotional earthquake she never prepared for. 4. Why this moment hits harder than the breakup itself. Breakups don't scare women. Feeling replaceable does. As long as she believed you were waiting, even silently, she felt comfortable. But now you're not checking her updates. You're not reacting to her posts. You're not sending nostalgia messages. You're not showing emotional leaks. You're not accidentally staying in touch. You're not orbiting. Your absence isn't a void, it's a message. And that message says, my life moves with or without you. This is the moment she realizes she is no longer the emotional center of your world. And that realization slices deeper than any breakup conversation ever did. 5. The fear of loss overtakes the fear of rejection. When a woman first pulls away or leaves, she fears one thing, rejection. But when she sees you truly evolving without her, rejection becomes irrelevant. The new fear becomes loss. Loss of access. Loss of influence. Loss of emotional connection. Loss of the role she once occupied effortlessly. Fear of rejection is temporary. Fear of loss is permanent. Most importantly, fear of loss is what triggers desire. This is the moment she stops thinking I left him and starts thinking, did I lose him? Once that thought enters her mind, the entire emotional balance tilts in your favor. 6. The moment she stops feeling in control. Women don't panic when you disappear. They panic when they realize you're not coming back. And this is the moment when she finally understands your silence is no longer about her. Your life is no longer shaped by her presence. Your value is no longer tied to her approval. That is the trigger. That is the shift. That is when the story changes. Because now, she's no longer the one evaluating you. She becomes the one fearing evaluation. She becomes the one imagining what you think of her. She becomes the one wondering whether you still want her. She becomes the one hoping the door isn't closed. This isn't a strategy. This is psychology. It's the natural consequence of you becoming the man who is no longer defined by her absence. Most men think she comes back because she misses you. They believe it's nostalgia, loneliness, or regret. But that isn't the real reason. Women don't come back for memories. They come back for value. Specifically, the value they suddenly see in the man you've become without them. A woman does not chase the past. She chases the upgraded version of you she never got to experience. And that is the secret psychology behind why she wants to come back first. 1. 2 realizations hit her at the same time. There comes a moment where two truths collide inside her mind, and that collision is what flips everything. Truth has shown, you are no longer the man she walked away from. You're calmer. You're more grounded. You're more selective. You're more disciplined. Your energy isn't scattered, it's centered. She sees the strength you built from the very pain she thought would break you. Truth, #2. You've become the man other women would want. The man who doesn't chase, doesn't over-explain, doesn't seek validation, doesn't crumble, doesn't lose himself, doesn't need her to feel whole. In her mind, this creates a psychological shake she cannot ignore. She lost the old you, And now another woman might receive the new you. That thought burns deeper than jealousy. It threatens her identity. 2. She wants the version of you she never got. This is the part men never understand. She doesn't want the man she left. She wants the man who emerged because she left. The version of you that grew mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, financially, socially. This is the version she secretly hoped you would become, but never believed you would become. Now you did. And she wasn't there to witness it. She wasn't part of the journey. She doesn't get automatic access to the result. That creates emotional scarcity, the strongest psychological trigger of all. She wants what she no longer feels entitled to. 3. The inner narrative she can't admit out loud. She'll never say it. She'll never confess it. But her mind begins whispering thoughts she can't quiet. I misjudged him. He actually improved. Without me. He might be happier without me. What if another woman gets the best version of him? Did I lose a man who was still becoming himself? These thoughts create a new internal story. You are no longer predictable. You are no longer accessible. You are no longer hers by default. And women chase what they cannot predict. 4. Why? Her ego starts working against her pride. A woman's pride will tell her, don't reach out first. Don't break the silence. Don't show interest. But her ego whispers something far more dangerous. You're losing him. If you wait too long, someone else will take your place. Pride wants distance. Ego wants certainty. And when a man evolves enough to threaten her sense of certainty, her ego always wins. She'll find reasons to talk to you. She'll create opportunities to reconnect. She'll send breadcrumbs, test signals, accidental messages. Not because she's bored, not because she's lonely, because she wants to make sure the door is still open, even if she doesn't walk through it yet. 5. The new version of you becomes irresistible. Women are not drawn to perfection. They are drawn to evolution. The man who grows quietly, improves consistently, holds his boundaries, values his time, controls his emotions, chooses himself, is the man she cannot replace. He is rare. He is centered. He is in demand. He is at peace. And peace in a man is profoundly attractive because it communicates, I don't need anyone, but I choose the people who deserve to be in my life. She knows she once had access to you, and now access must be earned. That flips the dynamic entirely. 6. The line that summarizes this entire chapter. There is one sentence that contains the essence of this psychology. She doesn't just want you back. She wants access to the man you became without her. That is the core truth. She doesn't crave the past. She craves the transformation. She wants the emotional experience she never got. She wants to be close to the strength she once overlooked. She wants to feel the new energy you now carry. She wants to experience the man you finally grew into. And that is why she wants to come back first. Not because you chased her, not because you convinced her, not because she suddenly understood your worth, but because your evolution made her feel the loss. Here's the twist almost every man overlooks. The true win is not when she texts first. It's not when she apologizes. It's not when she finally admits she underestimated you. The real victory, the Stoic victory, is something far deeper. becoming the man who doesn't depend on whether she returns or not. A man whose life moves forward regardless of her decisions. A man who rises so high that her absence no longer defines him. This chapter is the heart of the entire journey, because everything before this point was about psychology. But this is about identity, discipline, character, and stoic self-mastery. This is where you stop trying to influence her and start mastering yourself. 1. The Stoic perspective: you cannot control her. Only yourself. A Stoic man understands one eternal truth: you control nothing outside of your own mind, your own actions, and your own character. You do not control her choices, her attraction, her attention, her interpretation, her decision to come back or stay away. Trying to control those things is the reason most men break down and chase stupidity. A Stoic doesn't do that. A Stoic refuses to collapse into desperation. A Stoic pours his energy only into the things he can command: character, who you are when no one is watching; purpose, the mission you move toward regardless of who leaves; discipline, the habits that build your future; standards, what you are, allow, and what you walk away from. When you operate from those pillars, you become a different category of man, a man who cannot be manipulated, a man who cannot be replaced, a man who cannot be emotionally controlled. And ironically, this is the exact man women return to, but he no longer needs them to. 2. The twist she never sees coming. She thinks the story ends when she leaves. She thinks you fall apart. She thinks she won. But a Stoic man doesn't break. He rebuilds. He rewrites the entire narrative as the main character, not the abandoned one. He becomes calmer, more centered, more dangerous in his discipline, more focused on his purpose. And she slowly realizes the breakup didn't destroy him, it forged him. This is the twist she never anticipates. She returns to reconnect, only to find the man she left behind has disappeared and a stronger version stands in his place. The old dynamic is dead. The old imbalance is dead. The old dependence is dead. You didn't just heal, you evolved. And she can't process that easily. Because women don't expect men to rise, they expect them to collapse. Your transformation forces her into a mirror of her own choices. A mirror that reflects her misjudgments, her assumptions, her ego, her blindness to your potential. Suddenly, she's not evaluating your value, she's evaluating her loss. But here's the twist within the twist. By the time she realizes what she lost, you're no longer the man who waits for her realization. You are the man who walks his path with or without her. 3. The internal upgrade: what you become when you stop needing her. This is the real destination of a masculine journey. The goal is not to get her back. The goal is to become the man you were meant to be, regardless of who walks beside you. A man who leads himself, respects himself, challenges himself, sharpens himself, outgrows his past, outgrows his weakness, outgrows the version she knew. This is why your silence, your distance, your discipline gains so much power. Not because they're tactics, but because they are evidence of evolution. Women don't beg to come back to the same man they left. They beg to come back to the man who outgrew the version she believed he would always be. But here's the part most men never internalize. Your evolution must be real, not performed. Lived, not faked. Embodied, not posted. Because the version of you that emerges from genuine self-mastery, that man is not formed by her absence. He is formed by purpose, discipline, and inner sovereignty. And that becomes the point where attraction and approval no longer control you. 4. When you outgrow her, everything changes. There comes a moment, a quiet, profound moment where the truth hits you. You wouldn't go back to the old relationship even if she begged. Not because you hate her, not because you're angry, but because you've risen beyond needing validation from someone who walked away. You've outgrown the version of yourself that allowed the imbalance. You've tasted a higher level of discipline, clarity, and purpose, and you refuse to fall back. This is the victory she can feel even from a distance. A woman senses when a man has detached, not with bitterness but with peace. Peace is the most powerful form of detachment. It tells her without saying a word, I am a man who continues forward, with you or without you. That energy is what haunts her, not your silence, not your distance, your ascension. 5. The true win, becoming the man she had no power to break. Here is the core truth of the entire chapter. The real win is not her return. The real win is your rise. You don't become powerful because she wants you back. You become powerful because you no longer shape your worth around whether she does. A Stoic man doesn't react to loss. He uses loss as fuel. He uses heartbreak as instruction. He uses solitude as clarity. He uses pain as the forge that turns him into something greater. By the time she looks back, you've become the man she should never have doubted, and the man you were always capable of being. Her return is not the reward. Your transformation is. The true victory is reaching the level where you don't wait for her. You don't need her. You don't seek validation. You don't chase closure. You don't revolve around anyone but your purpose. You become the man whose life moves upward, regardless of who tries to re-enter it. That is the Stoic win. That is the masculine win. That is the psychological win. And that is the moment she realizes. She didn't just lose the old you. She lost access to the man you became because she walked away. Here's the truth most men never discover until it's too late. You don't become unforgettable because she came back. You become unforgettable because you became unbreakable. Not by staying cold, not by pretending you don't care, but by rising into a version of yourself she never believed you could become. A man rebuilt by discipline, sharpened by peace, defined by purpose. Because at the end of all of this, it was never about her choosing you again. It was about you choosing yourself for the first time in your life. When you reach that point when you're no longer moved by her silence, her distance, or her decisions, your entire energy shifts. You stop living like a man who's waiting. You start living like a man who's building. And that's when everything changes. She feels it. The world feels it. You feel it. The irony is beautiful. The moment you stop hoping she'll return is the moment she finally realizes what she lost. But that's not your victory. Your victory is becoming a man whose life moves forward with or without anyone beside him. A man who became the storm instead of fearing it. A man who learned to choose purpose over panic. A man who no longer negotiates his worth. That is the true masculine transformation. That is the power she never expected. And that is the life you were meant to live. If this video hit you deeper than you expected, if something in you woke up, if you felt even one moment where your mind shifted, then don't stop here. Subscribe to Stoic Truth 101 and walk with a community of men who rise instead of react. Every week, we build stronger mindset, sharper masculinity, deeper emotional control, unshakable purpose. And if you're ready to take this seriously, drop a comment. I choose the man I'm becoming. Not for me, for yourself. Because this is the moment your story changes direction. You're not chasing anymore. You're not waiting anymore. You're not breaking anymore. You're becoming. Welcome to your next chapter. Let's rise.